Well, hello, friends. We meet again. It's been a very long time since we've talked, and I apologize, but I'm doing my usual putting cookies on a pan and talking to my friends on YouTube. Today, I'm actually going to show you how to make a no-knead sourdough boule. Super crunchy, super delicious, super simple. You only need a few ingredients, and everybody will think that you are a rock star. In the meantime, however, I thought I'd give you a life update. We've had a whole lot of more life around here. On September 28th, my husband had several strokes, and he was in the hospital for a while. He rehabilitated, came home, and then a week later he had a much more severe stroke. So we have been adjusting to life with unexpected handicaps and unexpected rehabilitation, but we are so incredibly grateful because we thought that we were going to be arranging hospice care, but instead we arranged home care. So he is very determined, he's very strong, and he's way too young to slow down, and he does not like being stuck. So he's working really hard, but that has made our days very busy, very different, and we've all been learning how to adapt, and we're just incredibly grateful that he's here with us. So there's that. All the other drama is gone. There's just not a whole lot to be said about it, but our priorities shifted to just being home, taking care of us, and loving as best we can. I'll leave it at that. At the moment, I'm rolling out kringla because we always make kringla, a whole lot of it. In fact, I want to do a video on that because there's got to be at least some of you out there who wonder how to make kringla. I have yet to see YouTube videos on that, although I have to admit I haven't looked that hard. So I figure I'll do a Norwegian cooking series where we go through making kringla and lefse and kransekake, and maybe krumkake too. And if any of you have any requests for Scandinavian dishes to make, please let me know. I'd really appreciate it. So other life happenings, we've just been winterizing the homestead. Anybody out there who has an acreage knows that there's a whole lot to be done this time of year to get ready before the snow flies. And since we're down a person, we're not exactly there, but we're close enough. All the important stuff is done. Really all that's left is to put away the chicken processing equipment. And my hens have been on strike. I do not know what their problem is. I feed them well. I love them well, and they have plenty of space. But I will tell you, I have about 70 hens, and I get maybe 2 eggs a day. I understand molting, but this has been like over a month. So I don't know what their problem is, but they're about to be bone broth because chickens that slack on the farm, nope, not around here. Other than that, the goat has gone off to be bred. So next spring we will have some adorable little Alpine La Mancha Cross kids, and we'll be back in delicious goat milk. I look forward to that. In the meantime, we have found a wonderful source for Jersey cow milk, which is the best. So I have been making a lot of yogurt and a lot of things with cream, kefir, all kinds of good fermented stuff that, again, I'll have to do videos on. And big news, I am planning on starting a blog very soon, so I'm super excited about that. Kind of intimidated, but you know, I kind of geeked out and took a course. Lisa over at Farmhouse on Boone has a course on starting a blog, and I went ahead and invested in it because I am not savvy in these things. I know how to cook. I know how to do some other stuff too, but starting a blog is not something that I care to try to figure out on my own. I want to apologize for my voice. We had not the thing. We just had a cold at our house, and it's running its course. When you have so many family members, you're gonna get colds. It's just the way it is. And that's okay because we have beautiful immune systems and they're doing what they're supposed to do. So no worries there. Anyway, I am going to break for a moment, and I'm going to come back and show you how I mix up my no-knead sourdough and explain the process a little bit. So thanks for sticking around for update. All right, I finally found a little break in the baking. It gets really busy around here. So you can learn about sourdough everywhere. It's amazing. It's something I grew up with in Alaska. My mom made the best sourdough bread. My parents were gold miners. We traveled all over the state, from the Arctic Circle down to Cape Akataga. It was a lot of fun. It was very adventurous, but it was also you didn't have grocery stores. So we spent a lot of time making our own food. By the time I was 9, I could catch, kill, and cook my own trout because I was tired of waiting on Mom to cook for me. So it's something that I've been familiar with for a long time. Gosh, yeah, too long. I'm not telling you how old I am, but I'm getting there. No, I'm 41. I'm not that old. But I'm looking at my sourdough pot. Sorry, I'm just seem to be looking off into space, but I'm just looking at my pot, remembering those beautiful sourdoughs when I was a kid. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at that. Oh, I wish you could smell it. It's amazing. Mom would make it. I don't know how she did it. It was some strange alchemy that I still cannot figure out. But she would bake it in whatever pan she could find, and it was like, it tasted almost like roast beef. I think maybe that's the definition of umami. I don't know. I'm not that fancy. But anyway, she would slice it up really, really thin, and she would toast it under the broiler and with some butter on top, and it was just incredible. It's like one of those childhood memories that I'll never forget. That and her fried chicken. Oh my gosh, that woman can make fried chicken. There's some things I just don't bother trying to recreate anymore. But anyway, so sourdough is natural yeast. You catch yeast from the air, and you keep a starter that you feed every day. Well, I feed mine every day because I use it just about every day. It's flour and water and yeast. And last year when we had literally no yeast to be found, I didn't worry because I had my sourdough starter. You don't have to have commercial yeast. We have not always had commercial yeast. It's a nice convenient thing, but when you're in a pinch, having sourdough is really nice. Sorry, I say I got flour on my nose. So anyway, I've been making other people's boule recipes for years, and I love them. I've just done some tweaking to make it my own. I always like to try and make things my own over time. So this is what I came up with. It's crunchy, simple. You don't have to knead it. You do have to fold it, so there's a little bit of hands-on time. But the rewards are really good. So sourdough is easily digestible. There are enzymes in any grain that if you don't break them down, they can actually leach nutrients from your body. So it's important to ferment your foods. That goes for soaking oatmeal, soaking beans, pretty much soaking anything or fermenting makes it more digestible and better for your body. So that's what I'm going to show you right now. It's, like I said, it's super easy, super simple. Anybody can do it. It's really awesome. So the first thing I need, and I'm looking at my recipe I wrote because I haven't made it enough times to memorize it. So the first thing I have is I'm going to get, oh, where'd my measuring cup go? Be right back. Okay, 1 cup of sourdough starter. Oh, so rich and beautiful. Look at that. I've been making it extra thick because I'm also playing with some pancake recipes and some crepe recipes. Those will be on here soon too. So when you feed it, if it's super thick, then when it gets done with the fermentation process, it naturally thins out a little bit. So my 5-year-old just came in to inquire as to what I'm doing, so I sent him on his merry way. For some reason today, they have been testing their mama's patience. I love my children, and they're wonderful children. But like everybody else, we all have bad days. Oh, and by the way, when I store my flour, or my sourdough, I'm sorry, I put a towel over it and a rubber band because we have a lot of fruit flies. I don't know where they come from, but they love sourdough, they love kombucha, they love all things fermented, and I do all those things. So we always have an abundance of fruit flies, except for when it gets a little bit colder, then they'll go away. All right, so my next ingredient, oh, and if you were doing this by weight, it's approximately 9.9 ounces of sourdough. You could call it 10. You could fudge it a little bit. I normally do by volume, but this time I'm just measuring things out because it's easier for me. Okay, here we are again. Sorry about that. I've got a lot of activity going on in and out of the house here. So now I have 1 3/4 cups of water. If you were to weigh that out, it would be 12.5 ounces. I'm just stirring it in. And then I have 1 tablespoon of oil. I have 1.5 teaspoons of honey. And that's it. Yeah. I put the oil in the measuring cup first, and then the honey, and then the honey won't stick as bad. It still sticks, but not as bad. So then I stir that up. Stir, stir, stir. And you can see, just really liquid. Now I have 4.5 cups of flour. That's roughly 22 ounces. I will have this recipe up on my blog as soon as I get it up and running. So what I'm going to do is add like half of the flour, right? I'm just going to dump it on in here. And then I have a tablespoon of salt. I'm using pink salt, but when this is all gone, I like Redmond salt. And another vlogger was talking about some things I hadn't thought about, how pink salt miners are treated. I don't know. I'm going to find out. But I do like the idea of buying things from this country anyway. So I'm going to pour in 1 tablespoon of salt. I know it seems like a lot. It's okay. Salt is not bad for you. Good salt is okay. So anyway, I'm going to stir this up just a bit. And then I am going to go ahead and add in the rest of that 4.5 cups of flour. I'm just going to work it. And there comes a point where it's too thick to stir with a spatula. And at that point, I do use my hands. So, you know, all these breads, they say no knead, but if you really get down to it, you kind of have to a little bit. So we'll call it minimal knead. How's that? So it's pretty shaggy right now. And you can adjust if it seems like it's a little dry. This is a little on the drier side right now, which is okay, because as it ferments, it's going to loosen up a little bit and it's going to become a bit more moist. So this is what I have. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a shaggy kind of mess, right? So the dough hasn't hydrated, the flour has not hydrated completely yet. So the magic is going to come in as we do what's called our stretch and folds along the way. And what that's going to be is we simply stretch out the dough and we fold it over itself. We're going to do that every half hour for the first 2 hours. And after that, we're going to do it once an hour until our dough is nice and puffy fluffy and ready to shape. Once we shape it, we will put it into the fridge overnight, or if you do it in the morning, then you can put it in the fridge till you're ready to bake in the evening for dinner. And we'll bake it up in a Dutch oven. So that's it. That's how, oh, it's so good. It smells so good. That's how easy it is to mix it up. It's a little on the thick side. Sometimes I do them thinner, sometimes I do them thicker. I find that these generally stand up more and make like a more round boule, since boule is ball, right? So you can see it's getting more sticky. That flour is hydrating, and see how it's stretchy. So I will come back and show you our half-hour stretches, and then we'll go from there. Thanks. Okay, here we go. Stretch and fold number 1. And the reason that you do this, I suppose I should explain that. The reason that you do this is you want to build up the gluten in your dough. Gluten is what holds the bubbles that are created, carbon dioxide, that are created when yeast expires. So when you're baking your bread, as it bakes and the yeast expires, it makes carbon dioxide, which makes air bubbles. And those air bubbles get caught in the gluten strands, and that's what makes your bread rise, because yeast is a living thing. So that is why we build gluten in any bread. Typically you'll need a bread to form those gluten strands, but this is easier, quicker, and we get a beautiful result. So that's what we're gonna do. So you simply lift up, woo, look at that. Look at how stretchy that is. You lift up, fold over, you turn a quarter of a turn. You do the same thing. Lift up, fold over, lift up, fold over. I'm laughing because my teenage daughter's in the background and she just had to change a poopy diaper. So I'm gonna fold this last one over and I will see you again in half an hour. Here we go with number 2.
Oh, hey! You like you? Hey, you're getting the picture screen.
Now the next folds, stretch and folds, will be on the hour. So we'll come back in an hour. As you can see, it's really starting to look smooth. It's changed a lot from that shaggy texture we had. And not too many bubbles yet. This early on you won't see too many, but maybe you can see there's some little ones starting. So we'll see what magic happens in the next hour. Okay, I have done my series of stretches and folds. It's actually really late. It's almost midnight. It took a long time for my dough to rise because it's kind of cool in here. And, you know, wild hair. It's been a long day. Like I said, the kids have been interesting today. It turns out the one that was being fussy was because he had an ear infection, so I can't blame the poor guy. We took good care of him and he'll sleep well now. He'll feel much better tomorrow. All right, so I'm to the shaping stage. I did my half-hour folds, and then I did 3 hourly folds, maybe 4, I don't even know. But you can see now how beautiful and full and fluffy this is. What we want to do is try and preserve those bubbles. So I'm going to split it in half. You can use a knife, or I just kind of get my fingers in there and pretty much pinch it in half. Like so. You can see I have 2 beautiful halves. And remember how I was talking about the bubbles? So look at this. Look at all those bubbles. Isn't that beautiful? So now what I do is I have a couple of special floured towels that I use. I rub flour into them very, very thoroughly. And then after I use them, I hang them up and dry them and put them back in. And what this does is keeps the dough, excuse me, from sticking to the cloth and gives you a very beautiful scored wool when you're done. So I rub some fresh flour into my cloth like so, and then I just have random bowls around my house. So I'm going to use these 2 today. It really doesn't matter too much because you're going to dump it onto a piece of parchment and bake it, so it doesn't make that big of a difference. And oh, isn't this one pretty? My husband bought this for me a long time ago. I like it. Anyway, he knows what I like. I like blue things. I like pretty things. I like flowers. I'm not a very complicated person, but I do like my bowls. I use them for a lot of bread. He knows my love languages: plants and bowls and goats and chickens and cows. It's my love languages. Really simple. And chickens. Did I mention chickens? And lots more chickens. So now I just shoot away my 11-year-old because he's trying to help. So there's 2 ways that you can shape this. One of them is you tuck your hands underneath and you rotate that dough as you go. And what that does is tightens up the skin or the dough itself and makes a nice smooth ball. So I hope you can see this. Let me see here. Oh, sorry about that. I don't have very high-tech equipment here, so I'm pretty much balancing on some pans. You can see that in my Instagram post. Okay, so you keep working your ball. You work it, work it, work it until you are satisfied with how smooth it is. And all the while you're trying not to get all those beautiful bubbles out of your dough. You want to keep those because that's what you're going to have in your final bake. So at this point, this is pretty much what I'm left with. It's nice and smooth on top. It's got a few more bubbles than I'd care for, but it'll be all right. It tastes good no matter what. It's kind of cute. See the bubbles? Anyway, so now I'm going to place this smooth side down, seam side up in my bowl, like this. So that's what it'll look like when you're done. And I'm going to let this sit at room temperature on the counter for about an hour, just to proof a little bit, and then I will cover it with plastic wrap, put it in the fridge, and then tomorrow I'll take you through the scoring and baking process. Now with the second one, this is probably not considered conventional, but I'm not conventional, so there you go. I actually just hold it up in my hands. If it's a wetter dough, this may not work, but this one's pretty reasonable. So I just kind of pinch it together. Then I go around and kind of pinch it. Like I said, it's not conventional, but it works for me. I've been doing this for a long time, and you just kind of find what your personal groove is. And I'm pretty much doing the same thing I would do on the counter, except it's in my hand. And then I can pinch it up. See, it's just as pretty and smooth. Smells wonderful. So there you go. I have my bowls in my bowls, and I am going to let them sit at room temperature for about an hour, put plastic wrap on them, put it in the fridge, and tomorrow I will show you the next step. It's really cool. I can't wait to show you. See you tomorrow. Hello, hello, hello. We are back. Today it is time to score and bake our sourdough bread. So here's my lovely assistant, Elizabeth Ann. She's going to help me along the way. And oh, there's Leif. Say hi. Okay, back to living room, cutie. All right. So I just remembered I'm missing a part. Elizabeth is going to entertain you for just one moment.
What? Why? Oh, we forgot that.
We hope you enjoyed the Elizabeth show. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do is I cut out some round parchment. I recycle these. The kringla that I bake, we use parchment paper, so I like to recycle it, not just throw it away. No need to be wasteful. Next thing I'm going to do is I sprinkle a little bit of flour on the parchment paper itself. And then look how much these rows. So this is the bottom of the loaf. So what I'm going to do is gently turn it out. Then I just remove the bowl. We'll see if it's going to come easy or not. Alrighty.
Whoa.
And this part here is always interesting. You never know what you're going to get. If I don't flour it enough, it's a mess. We'll see. Oh, looks like it's coming like this. It's magic. It's so satisfying. All right, there we go. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here is our beautiful boule.
Whoa. That's it.
And I am going to rub the top with flour.
Ah. Wow.
Wow, indeed. I like to put lots of flour on it so that it holds the scores really nice and be really pretty. I do not need your help, but thank you for asking.
Whoa.
So you can use a really sharp kitchen knife or something like that. I just like to use a single razor blade. Make sure you keep them away from your kids. All right, so we'll see if you can see this. I put it at an angle, like roughly there. I'm not a very good trigonometry or geometry person. I hold the angle about here. And then I decide where I want to cut, because when you cut, first of all, the loaf is going to expand and open up. So you have to decide what you want. I do it kind of along the side here. And if all goes well, wow, this should end up being about here. So we'll see. We're doing an experiment today. I enjoy playing with scoring of bread dough. It's a lot of fun.
Oh.
Oh, hey Astrid, mommy's talking to her YouTube friends. Please be quiet, okay? There we go. Oh, it's pesky fruit flies I was telling you about. So I like to develop what's called the ear. That's this like ridge here. So I take my time and just cut under here. It doesn't really matter. You can just do some simple slashes too if you want. But see, and that it's like it's smiling. It's ready to go in the oven. And then I like to do like a sheave of wheat, or I guess a head of wheat, not a sheave. I don't want to do the whole thing. But anyway, you get the gist. You understand what I'm saying. And just a little bit here and there. And I'm going to put it in the oven. So I have cast iron Dutch ovens that I use specifically for this. They're old, they're beat up. I'm getting a cooling rack. I'm disappearing for a second. At least I thought I was getting a cooling rack. Would you go get me one, please? Anyway, so I put this in a 450 degree oven. I warm up the Dutch oven for about 30 to 45 minutes, and the lid. You want the lid too. You could also use like a roasting pan for a turkey or something if you have a lid. I warm it up, and during that time the bread proofs. So I'm going to grab one out of the oven and I'm going to truck it over here, and we're going to get this loaf in. And it's time to be entertained by Izzy again. All right, Izzy, go to work.
Why me? Pizza.
Okay, Leif, this is time for you to go. This is hot stuff.
It's pizza time.
Alrighty. So here is my hot pan.
Now's the time to cook the pizza.
Be very careful when you do this. Remember to set a timer. Yesterday I baked a loaf for over an hour at 450 degrees. Needless to say, I did not take the lid off the Dutch oven for a long time. And when I did, that was an impressive color. I didn't know bread could get quite that color. It was going to be for the pigs. It was just an experimental loaf went wrong. But after it burned, it went in the trash instead. Okay, my lovely assistant is going to open the oven, and I'll be back with the other bowl. Okay, now it's time for number 2. It's always so fun to see what they look like when they come out the next day. Okay, nice and pretty. I kicked Leify out because I don't want him around this kind of heat. Elizabeth here knows what to do, don't you, Sissy? Would you like to cut this one?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all right.
It's kind of tiny and sharp.
It is sharp, you're right. Astrid, you gotta be quiet because Mommy's talking to her friends on YouTube, okay? Can you be quiet for Mama?
No, close it.
So for this one, I'm really pretty fond of the whole wheat thing, so I'll stick with that theme here. And you'll get to see the final product later. And then I like to put our Homestead initials, EFH. EggFeathers Homestead. Let's see if you can see without me dropping the loaf off.
That's in the video now.
Yep. Okay, so these are going to go into a 450 degree oven
I think
for 30 minutes with the lid on the Dutch oven. Then the lid will come off, and another 15 minutes with the lid off, 450 degrees. If your oven runs super hot, when I get to that half-hour mark, take the lid off and shut the door. I will just turn the oven off, and it will maintain heat. You have to know your oven. Everybody's ovens are different. All of mine act a little bit differently. I have 2 stacks over here and 1 over here, so each one gets a little different treatment. For this particular oven, we'll be okay just the way it is. All right, we'll see you back after they're baked. And here you go. It's all done. It's beautiful. It came out of the oven about 4 hours ago. I went shopping. And now my favorite part. Here we go. Let's listen. Are you ready? Are you ready? Oh. And there you go. Your own homemade sourdough boule. You can serve it with cheese or olive oil or peanut butter and jelly. Enjoy. Well, hello, random stranger. Would you like to try a piece of my bread?
I think I would. Crunch it.